If you're looking for a new way to support Side Mission, check out Dubby.gg, an energy supplement company trying to make a difference. Make sure to use code SIDEMISSION for 15% off your order. Thank you, Dubby, for sponsoring this episode, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. I, like always, am your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by the boys, Kyle Lynch, Matt Beck, and today we are talking about a game that has seemingly just taken the gaming world by storm. We are talking about Palworld, and this is an exciting one to talk about, and I'm excited that we're doing an episode on this one because I wasn't sure what to make of this game when Kyle first brought it up. He said, hey, there's this game. It looks like Pokemon, but with guns. Let's play it. and instantly, on that alone, I was in. So it's worth pointing out before we get into this episode that this game is in early access. So there are performance bugs, there are technical glitches. It's not completely finished yet. In fact, as Kyle has pointed out several times on social media, the developers do give you a warning every time you start the game up that you could experience some of these issues. So it's in early access. It hasn't been finished yet, but goes without saying, based on my intro, we have really enjoyed playing this game. It is not a perfect game, but Kyle, this game, Palworld, it's a lot of damn fun.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. This game has been my obsession since it dropped, and I honestly thought that, this is going to be stupid. Let's play it. It'll be, funny. It'll be a good, 15, 20-minute episode. Let's just do it for content. And when I saw it was coming to Game Pass, I was like, okay, now we have to because it's free. And, man, this game is so addictive because it's so much more than Pokemon with guns. That was the meme the entire time that this game was marketed until release, and we realized that it's actually Ark Survival meets Pokemon. But while it may not be the most original game, and it was absolutely inspired by other games, I don't think that means this game is not fun. And I think the sales absolutely prove it. This game has sold 8 million copies in less than a week. And that's really, really impressive, considering that's just Steam alone, which the game on there is $30. It shows how much I think people really want a Nintendo clone or Nintendo properties on PC, and that possibly opens up discussion for maybe a later episode. But needless to say, this game, even in early access, even as buggy as it is really addictive, is really fun.
Absolutely. I mean, you really nailed it there by saying it's Ark Survival meets Pokemon, because that's a good example. Sure, there's that creature catching element that all Pokemon games are known for, and it's one of the reasons why people love Pokemon games. That's there, and it's obviously, again, it's not shy about its inspirations, but the survival crafting, Kyle, and Matt. I don't know why I just said Kyle. Matt's here as well, and Matt's an important part of this podcast. But the survival crafting and the base building is a really big part of this game. I mean, heck, we talked about it yesterday that, Matt, we hopped in Kyle's game, and obviously when you hop in a multiplayer game, you don't hop over there with your character that you've played with in solo. So I've played in my world. I think I'm level 40 at this point. Me and Kyle have played for a little over 20 hours at this point. I don't know what your playtime looks like, Matt, but it's not important. I just figured that you'd put in enough time to talk about it at least, and I think we all three have. But like Matt, we hopped in Kyle's party at level 1, and within an hour, really, each of us were caught up and around level 30. So, it's really cool that you can spend a lot of that time building your base and improving on different structures, and it feels like you're rewarded with constant progression, Matt.
Yeah, I'll say this. The type of customization that goes into the crafting is actually really well done. I would simply just enjoy building a house like I've had to do it on my game, on your server, on Kyle's server, and each time I did it completely differently. Like I never mimicked how I built it. And what I really like is with the multiplayer here is that you guys were able to help me, by giving me materials because I was just starting off in Kyle server where you guys had already made quite a bit of progress, and I like that y'all were able to help me by building stuff, and y'all were able to give me pals that I have yet to see. And I love the fact that the pals themselves you can be put into the base, and they're basically just like, I'm not going to call them slaves. We don't believe in slaves at side mission. um,
Wow.
so I like the fact that they contribute to the base, and this like in Pokemon, the only thing that you can do is keep them in your box or keep them in your party. There's nothing really for where you can keep Pokemon and interact with them, and I think that's one strong suit that Palworld has is the fact that each PAL itself has a purpose. It serves a role, and they did a really good job implementing that with water types helping out with the gardening, a little bit bigger types helping out with mining for ore or chopping down trees, and the fact that that they're so alive, like they get depressed or they have like their own different statistic, like this one's a hard worker, and the fact that the game will tell you that I think is really cool. And the fact that you're able to, as you're expanding your base, you can increase how many pals are there. Like I've seen well over 30, and on Kyle's base, I thought that was really cool that they're just doing their own little thing, and like the developers put like a lot of care into this game, and it really shows.
Absolutely, and I think I like what you said about being able to increase. And I feel like that's being able to increase how many pals you have in your base. That's something that goes along with that constant progression. Is you feel like if you play this game for an hour, you feel like you can make a lot of progression. You feel like you can really improve your base a lot. You can improve your team a lot. You can make progress in the world in terms of just exploring this really big map. And Kyle, we talked about it. There are several areas in the map we still haven't seen yet. Like, it's crazy just how big this game is. And for all of it to be in early access and for it to be as really well put together as it is, it's really commendable. And Kyle, I think that the developers should be really, really proud of what they've made so far. Obviously, it sounds like I'm getting near the end of the episode. We're not. We're going to talk a lot more about it. But Kyle, for there to be as much here as there is, if you have to pay $30 for this, it seems like a price tag that's well worth it.
Absolutely worth it. I think that, some of my favorite moments from this game have actually come from just hopping on one of the pals and flying around the world, just seeing the environment. What I really see in this game is potential, because this is early access, and there really is not a lot of, or there's not really a story, period. There's a lot of bosses all over the map that you can fight, and there's dungeons that you can do. There's not really a story, and it's not really, like a main quest or really any side quests to do. However, I think that there is a lot of potential for there to be a story here, for there to be characters and side quests and, big boss battles. It's definitely something that I want to stick with and watch this game grow over time. And I'm very, very interested to see where it is at full release compared to now.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah,
you're spot on.
the the base building, it's not like crafting games are not my forte. They are not something I generally enjoy anymore. However, this game allows you to go to the settings and you can change a lot of shit, like the XP gain, the capture rate. You can change the amount of appearances in your world. You can change the amount of items dropped, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can really break the game, and they allow you to do that. So if the devs are allowing you to do that in the settings, it's not cheating. It's custom settings, and I really, really enjoy that, because it's allowed us to progress really fast, so that way we can, I can get Rusty and Matt together. We can all help each other, so that way we're not spending days and days just trying to level up and build our base. We only have to spend, 1 or 2 days really building our base, and then we can go out and just explore. We can go out and do all these cool boss battles and see other islands. I highly suggest doing that. I have never been shy about playing games on easy mode, about changing the settings. If they allow you to do it, I'm going to do it because it's in the game. It's not a cheat, you know? I have platinumed some really hard games, so I honestly don't give a shit what people think if they think that I'm playing on baby mode or whatever because I platinumed some damn hard games that didn't have a difficulty setting. I have nothing to prove. And, you know, it makes the game more fun, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. I always tell people, like, listen, if I'm not playing a FromSoft game or if I'm not playing a Souls-like, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to force myself to play on a harder difficulty when I do not have to. I am not going to force myself to play on a game that or play on a harder difficulty when I've got nothing to prove. I'm gaming to relax and make this podcast with you two. I'm gonna have fun, damn it. And that is how I wish more gamers were. Have fun with gaming. Don't feel like you have something to prove. So back on the actual topic of Palworld, because I feel like we could do a whole episode about that.
Yeah.
It is worth pointing out that, again, in early access, there are some performance issues. And the developers have been really, really good about rolling out constant updates. And thankfully, those updates look like they fixed quite a few problems. For example, Kyle, I remember when we played in my world, we had a lot of crashes. And I think at one point we had a crash roughly every 7 or 8 minutes.
It was
And
bad.
it went on for, we endured about 5 or 6 crashes before we were like, okay, there's a sign that maybe we're just not in a good spot tonight. Oh, well, we'll try it again tomorrow. Well, there was an update between that time and when we played it again, and we got through about 35, 40 minutes straight before the game had any kind of a slowdown or a crash. And that was the only one we experienced in that 2 or 3 hour playing session. So,
True.
safe to say, they have rolled out some really good updates they've been really good about listening to what the feedback is, and I like that from a developer. That's great. We praised Round 8 and NeoWiz when they did the same thing with Liza P. We're going to absolutely praise the developers here because that's awesome to see that they are listening to the crowd, they're listening to their players, and they're fixing issues that players are having. It's awesome. I also like, and Matt, I don't know if you've taken a look at this yet, and you can let me know if you have or haven't, I like that there's a roadmap for future content updates as well. I think that's really cool that they have a whole plan of different things to roll out leading up to launch.
Yeah, I was actually taking a look at that, and it's definitely very something to look forward to, especially in a game where there's still so much left to do. I mean, if you're like me, when you play Pokemon games, you like to complete the Pokedex, and that's kind of like here in this game as well. And now they're saying that they're going to be adding more pals and more locations, which I think is really cool. Plus the introduction of PvP. So basically, one thing that I enjoy doing in Pokemon is battling. So I love the fact that we're going to be able to battle each other with our pals because that is just even more stuff to do here. What was the other one that I think I saw? So there's PvP and raids. I think they said that they were introducing more of these kind of raids. So that's also really cool, something to look forward to. I like the fact that, with this roadmap, it really shows that developers are not just going to, release this game and, patch it every so often, but they're actually going to, really expand upon it and support it. And I like that, especially when it comes to a game like this, because when Game Freak releases a game, they'll release the game, and then about a year later, they'll have some DLC. They used to have like a third game to go with it, but they use DLC now. But they're not really introducing new modes or anything like that. So when you have a smaller indie developer like this, and they are really expanding upon what is already out there, and this is before the full game's even released, since it is still in early access. That right there gives me the confidence that we're going to see the vision that they have for this game when it's finally ready. It's finally out of early access, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to talk about it because I think that it's relevant to this game. We've talked a lot about, I feel like we've touched on everything regarding just the gameplay. I think we've touched everything. One thing I did want to ask you guys that someone mentioned in the rollout of potentially them adding a sphere that allows you to throw it at other players' pals that have been captured, and it gives you a chance to capture their pals. That seems really toxic.
That's rude. They better not do that. That would be wrong.
Like, I'm not gonna lie. Imagine you're battling somebody and then all of a sudden they pull out a spear and they throw it at your pal. That's so just bad. Evil.
Dude, I would throw a spear at somebody's pal, and while it's doing a little catch thing, I just go beat the shit out of them. That's so wrong.
Like it's so toxic, man. I listen. There's a part of me that would find a lot of humor in that. I'm not gonna lie. There's part of me that would really enjoy that. I think that, and I want both of your takes on this because we all have varying degrees of experience with Pokemon. The main thing I take away from Palworld is I love this game, and I think that it's got a chance to really, really be something special. I hope that a game like this motivates Game Freak and that it shows them, hey, if we will try to do things differently, if we put more effort into our games, we could have a game like Palworld that has at this point, what, over 8 million in sales, over 7 million in sales on Steam alone, and that's not factoring in Xbox or Game Pass users. Like, I would love for this to motivate Game Freak and be like, hey, if y'all put this kind of effort in, if y'all update your game consistently, this could be you with Pokemon. Pokemon's the biggest franchise in the world, but the problem is it has had no competition for the last several years. It really has had no competition, I really think, ever. Like, the closest that it came with regards to, like, TV property or the like was probably Digimon, but Digimon never really came close to the popularity that was Pokemon, at least not in the States. You know, maybe in Japan, maybe Digimon was closer there, but I doubt it because Pokemon's massive over there. It's where it was created. So for me, I hope that this shows Game Freak, hey, you've got competition now. You got to step it up. And Kyle, we talked about it. Matt, I think me and you have talked about it as well. I'll let you both kind of give your thoughts on it. Kyle first, then Matt. But I really hope that Game Freak is motivated by this competition for their next release.
I agree. I would like to see the next Pokemon game evolve. Now, I don't think there necessarily needs to be base building and crafting or guns or any of that shit, but what I think they could do are add different elements, like add, like what I was talking about, on the last episode about Last of Us, how they add a different, element to the gameplay, to this already, known genre. Pokemon should do that with their game. They should try different things, maybe not go all the way to crafting, but have, a sort of base where you could have your Pokemon out and, you could bring people there and be like, hey, look at, all my Pokemon out, like they have different things that they could do, not necessarily working, but like different activities. It'd be cool because then you could bring your friends over, kind of like, that was one of the biggest things about Animal Crossing. One of the biggest things was I want to come to your island. I want to see all the shit that you have. It'd be really fun to do that in Pokemon. I want to come over and I want to see all the, shinies you caught or the legendaries that you have. And, I want to see what they're all doing, at your Pokemon house. That would be something I think would be fun. Or, just any kind of different, really gameplay element there. I think would be cool if we got to see the franchise evolve in some way like that.
Me personally, I want Game Freak to take a look at this game and realize that Pokemon are more than just props for battling and things like that. Because a lot of people gain attachments to them because there's we're well over 1,000 of them now, and everybody has their own favorite one. I think one issue that I've been having since Sword and Shield is the fact that I understand that there are so many, so Game Freak, has to, make cuts. And we ended up creating something called Dexit way back when Sword and Shield first announced that not every Pokemon will be in Sword and Shield. But I hope that with future future games that Game Freak takes a look and actually treats the Pokemon and gives us more ways to interact with them. They've done a couple of things like that before where it's just like, you can feed them or you can have a picnic with them and things like that. But I want to actually be able to play, mini games with them or, use them in certain ways. Like, I think that would be really cool. My biggest thing that I do want Game Freak to know is they just need to work on their performance because Scarlet and Violet and Arceus are stepping in the right direction. I like this more open world thing that they've been doing. But unfortunately, the performance has just been very lackluster. And the fact that they acknowledged it was pretty big, but even though they acknowledged it, they did not fix the issues. They had 2 DLCs that came out for Scarlet and Violet, and not one of the performance issues was it was not fixed. In fact, it introduced more issues that people were having, and Game Freak has to once again release new patches for them, which is in return making more problems. Game Freak, I honestly think that they need to figure out a new engine. They need to maybe get some help from other developers. I absolutely think that the Xenoblade developers, they helped out the Breath of the Wild team, and we saw how well that turned out. I think that maybe they could get some help from Monolith Soft about creating the next region and the performance issues, and actually put care into it. No pop-ins, no falling to the ground, no weird glitches where your character grows really long arms and turns into this like Lovecraftian like cosmic horror type of thing. Um, I mean, like the Pokemon models was definitely an improvement. They don't look so plastic anymore. Like there's actual shaders on them. Like Survivor actually looks like it has scales. Magnemite actually looks like it's made of metal. That was a step in the right direction with the models. I just think that they need to do that and put that kind of attention into the actual world itself.
Get the Pikmin art team to do it.
Oh my god.
They make good environments.
They make a good, it's a good looking game. Pikmin 4 is very good looking.
Yeah, and I agree with what both of you said. Ultimately, I think that the big thing with Pokemon right now is the performance has got to be better with their next game. To take that a step further as well. I mean, I know we didn't do a review of it, but Detective Pikachu Returns had similar performance issues. It didn't look great. It looked very, very bland, kind of blobby almost. Didn't look there was a lot of real detail that was put into it. So the hope is that Game Freak sees that people like what Palworld has done. They see this craze that it's created because we talked about it, Kyle, that every so often, we get games that kind of transcend gaming and the medium of gaming, games that kind of just take over the industry and everybody gets addicted. So to give an example, like in 2018, it was Red Dead Redemption 2. In 2022, it was Elden Ring. In 2020, it was Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's games like that that kind of become a little bit more than just a game. It's an experience. And it's one of those times in your life as a gamer you don't forget. And I feel like we're living through another one of those moments right now with Palworld, Kyle, where sure, it's not a perfect game. Sure, it could probably look a little bit better right now. But man, it's got the gaming world in a stranglehold, and it's been really impressive to see this run that it's gone on in the last week or so.
It absolutely has. I think that, it shows, it really shows that, even if you launch a game that is buggy, that crashes, that has a lot more downloads than you're expecting and causes the servers to overload and, not be able to save and all. I mean, it still has quite a few issues, like sometimes the pals won't, work at the benches or, at whatever station you need them to. Yet it is because I think it actually has become the most played game on Steam. Like, or it's had the most concurrent players at one time. It's overtaken every game, including PUBG, I believe, which is insane because like we've said this whole time, this game is in early access. There are plenty of bugs, there are plenty of issues, but people continue to play this because it's not only fun, but the devs are listening to them, they're fixing shit, and that is, ultimately what I think not just Game Freak, but a lot of developers should take into account is that if you can get in there quick, if you can launch a game that's fun, but it's got issues and you fix them consistently, or you're at least transparent with your fan base, unlike how Conch Media was when they dropped Saints Row, and that buggy piece of shit just didn't work, and when we complained about it, they just made fun of us. That's the opposite of what you're supposed to do. I really like how they've handled this. I really like that, you know, they're not just shying away from the fact that this game has issues. They accept it and they say, "Hey, we're working on it." It's a good example.
Absolutely. Well, fellas, is there anything that either one of you wanted to address that we haven't talked about Palworld? I feel like we've touched on a little bit of everything. I feel like this has been a really, really good episode. I don't know, people at home are probably like, this has been kind of shit in my opinion. But but is there anything that we haven't touched on that either one of you want to talk about?
I just want to talk about how hilarious that it is that you can catch humans in this game. Because that right there, this seems so messed up, but it is so funny.
Yeah, I actually have, so you can build like a viewing cage to put pals in for people to come and, look at the unique pals you've got. And I have this viewing cage on top of my house, and all I put in there are humans, all the different humans I catch. I'm not out here to just fill the Pokédex. I'm trying to catch every single human on this island.
Oh my God! I feel like we're gonna get in trouble with Spotify or somebody with the stuff that we've talked about on this episode. Hey, listen, if side mission gets canceled because we're talking about catching humans, then just understand it's been a good run, okay?
It has.
But if there's nothing else that either of y'all want to add, Kyle, I don't know if there was anything you wanted to add.
No, I'm good. That was it.
Just wanted to make sure I didn't want us to leave anything out. But since that is all, that is going to wrap up this episode of Side Mission. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can check us out on Facebook as well at Side Mission Podcast. For the boys, for Kyle, for Matt, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening.